So I have some fabrics picked out. I have an idea what I'm going to do. That's going to be the main flower color probably. And I have a selection of reds for the center. It might seem to make more sense to have a yellow in the center, but I like the idea of a bigger shape of yellow. So I have transferred the stencily shapes. I actually used the packaging that the fabric came in, but I've transferred using carbon paper, which I don't know if you've ever used it, but it's the stuff, used to use it for copying um, sheets of typing, but people use it for all kinds of things now. So I copied it out onto that card, and I'm using the original thing as like a template. And the idea is that I only need one shape for the petal. The idea is that you get your fabric and say it's going to be a green for the leaf. So say it's that green. You're going to make a little sandwich with the green, and then you get some fabric interfacing to back it with, because the applique has an edge, a turned edge in it. Now this is garden fleece. But I might get away with it if it doesn't actually tear, if it's not too fragile and it doesn't tear. I might get away with using it as an interfacing. So you lay that over it and cut it out to your template. But you're going to draw around your template first and leave a seam allowance of 1/4 inch around that. Then cut it. Okay, so you're marking where you're going to sew, and then you have a shape that's a bit bigger than this shape, because this is going to get, the interfacing is going to be slit, turned inside out, and your sewing line is going to not have a raw edge on it anymore when it's inside out. It's like making a bag and then turning it inside out. But you'll see when I do it if you don't know what I'm talking about. So the idea for this one is that you sew all the way around, because you're going to put a slit down the middle, and that slit is where you can access it to turn it inside out. But you also put little kind of a few notches as you're going around, so that the curves are a little bit easier to push into position. You might use a little implement. I have, I don't know where I put it offhand. I think I put it back in a jar somewhere. It's a bone, it's like a letter opener thing, but you just shove that into the points and everything to try and get the roundiness. So we'll see if it works, or whether my interfacing hack is a bit too flimsy for it. But it might work. But if you can't understand my instructions, they have very good instructions on page 10 of the PDF. Yay, it worked. So I'm going to be able to applique nicely on that edge without having to really work hard to keep tucking it in as I'm going along, you see. So I'll cut 3 more of them out. You don't, there's the tool, it was right beside me all the time. You don't have to have one of those, even like a coffee stirrer or something. This makes a good pokey stick. So yeah, that worked okay. So 3 more of those, and then I'll cut out my background, and I'm going to break out my other new tool for that, the rotary cutter, because I need squares that are the same size as the 2 squares that I already have done, you see. So, and it's going to be in a nice matchy fabric, that color, which is not unlike the first square that I did, except patterned, you see. So it's going to be lovely. So we'll just see how that tool works. I think it'll work with that. I'm not sure whether that's, I presume so, because it is a sort of a quilting ruler. That I suppose you do it on that edge. We'll see how it goes. Never used one before, you see. Last petal coming up. I'm running out of my lovely green pattern fabric. Pity, because I loved that one. But I got good use out of it, you know, because I used it in that as well. Okay, so on a pretty dark morning, I am nearly finished getting all my pieces cut out. And some of them I might have to, like these little background pieces, I might have to cut down very slightly because they're sort of poking out. Some of them are poking out slightly from the piece that's on top of them. But that's no problem because the bit that I cut off will be hidden, and I'll be just whip stitching around the edge of everything to hold it together. I'm on the stems now, and I got to try out this tool, which wasn't as easy to use as I thought it was. There's a bit of a learning curve on it for me, but I was able to get straighter lines than I usually do. And this little stem, that doesn't have the sort of interfacing on the back of it like the other ones do, because you're just turning it in on either side to whatever width you want, pressing it down, and then when you go around the front, you're going to be sewing it down. You don't need the interfacing, do you? So I've just to finish the stems, then I will get the dreaded iron out and press all of those. Then I'm ready to cut this last bit of fabric, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it looks on that. That piece of fabric is going to be a square, the same size as the previous two blocks that I made. So I had to narrow these down to an inch to get them to fold into something that's as narrow as that. And that was good because it gives me a chance to get the hang of this better before I cut my big piece of fabric. See, there's the kind of width I wanted to fold down to. Okay, so I've ironed it and I'm ready to transfer this onto this, and I have some guidelines marked out on it. I have this cut a little bit bigger than my seam allowance, just to sort of allow for any kind of slight mistakes. I just really don't want these to go up too far to the edge, you see. But these guidelines will help me place it fine. Mostly eyeballing it, you know. I could have transferred the full pattern to it, but I didn't bother. I think I can just eyeball it. So I'm dying to see how it looks on that fabric. I think it'll be nice. When I looked at the diagram, I realized I'd actually done one stem too many going across this way. So these leaves are going in a little bit further again, and it does look nicer, I have to say, because it's not too busy in the middle. It's only got 4 stems. So that's going to be pinned. I could even tack a few bits in if the pins start annoying me. Just do very loose tacking stitches like I did on these ones here, you know, because they can come out easily afterwards. There's no knot on the end of them. So I'll see what's the most comfortable way to work for me. So what I've decided to do with these is pin down, instead of pinning down the whole lot, pin down one element at a time. And I did this first, then I'm going around and doing these, and just kind of putting other elements back on after each one to make sure they have enough room to fit. This element will be the next thing to go on. You see these 2 bits for the flower. But it's easier than all the millions of pins, which can move around anyway, you see. So I don't want pins moving around. I'd rather the pins that I put in stay where they are when I'm putting in the one element that I want, then pin the next bit. Seems to be working out okay so far. So that's next to be pinned. So here's my third panel all done. And I'm fairly happy with it, considering I didn't have a whole lot of fabrics to work with. I mean, If I'd had a darker green, I would have used it there. But I was just working with the kind of limited stock of fabrics I had. But I think they do work well together. And all the tones across the 3 panels should look quite nice. So my next thing is to get them all onto the backing, which is the lovely white cotton that I thrifted. And I don't think that'll be too hard because it's just turning it down around the edges. And my new cutting tool was very handy for cutting out that big piece. And the other thing that was really handy was this pen, which disappears when you iron things. It's a motivation to iron them. So all my guidelines and everything disappeared nicely. So I was very happy with that. That was a set of pens, all different colours for different fabric colours. So that was a great buy. So this is going to be lovely. So I'm going to take my time laying it out and getting the layout I like, laying it out on the coffee table, looking at it, seeing how it looks up close from a distance, so on. So I know I said I would do all this in 3 videos, but I think that it's worth doing another video because I had talked about doing borders originally, hadn't I? And in this pattern, the freebie pattern I was working from, it does talk about how to do a kind of an inlaid border. If you put this on a backing and then you want a fancy border all around the edge, which I had been talking about, it shows you a choice of lovely styles of borders to do. So it's worth getting that PDF for even if you weren't putting a border on this one like me. I'm deciding to go with plain just because if you put a white and then a border all around this in a colour on a small coffee table, and it's a small square table, it's going to make the table look smaller. I don't want that table to look smaller. I wouldn't mind if it was a placemat or something on a bigger table, but thinking about it, I thought, no, it might be nicer white. And I might do some kind of embroidery. I'm thinking about some kind of embroidery detail in white on that white cloth. But I'll see. I have to get it all laid out first. So that'll all happen in the last video. I promise the next one is the last video. And we'll see how the whole thing looks when it's put together and on the table. And I'm pretty excited about getting to that stage. The rest is quite a simple turning it down job, getting it onto the cloth, and a bit of, changing seams and everything on the existing pillowcases, and making a kind of a cloth with the 3 panels in it for my table. So, seaming kind of basically jobs from now on. But I had never done those patchwork styles before. And I liked the fact that I tried an applique one as well. That was my first time trying that type of applique. So I was very happy with that. You see the way it looked very different on the front as well as the back for the applique one. But it worked out very well. I would use all those techniques again. So I loved learning them, really enjoyed it. And just from even the half triangle, the different shapes, the amount of different shapes you can get out of just that one technique is amazing. So it's lovely for anybody wanting to do slow stitch projects with it. But I'm very happy. I think they look really nice. So one more video and we'll see how the final piece is going to come together in the last video.